Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus Reports. Today is December 11th, 2024, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
What's going on out there, everybody? This is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. Got a couple of who woulda thunk it's, pretty interesting ones. Let me get them out of the way real quick here so we can get into week 15. First of all, if you haven't been paying attention, rookie tight end Brock Bowers is balling. Brock Bowers has a new NFL record for most receptions by a rookie tight end, 87. Nice work by Brock Bowers. Who would have thunk it? Last week we talked briefly about Kirk Cousins and how he's been playing lately, as opposed to how he was playing at the beginning of the season. This is one of those, I think this guy's falling off the cliff. I think I said last week, if he ain't falling off the cliff, he's got one foot hanging off and the other foot's on a banana peel. In his last 4 games, he's thrown 8 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. Oh, he's on his way. He's on his way. Sam Darnold, Mr. I ain't no pumpkin yet, has more passing yards than Lamar Jackson, more passing touchdowns than Josh Allen, and fewer interceptions than Patrick Mahomes. I ain't got to say nothing else, right? Boy's balling. And last but not least, and most Eagles fans won't give a damn about this. I just don't like it, probably because I play fantasy. Fantasy owners of Saquon Barkley are happy, but not as happy as they could be, because Saquon Barkley has been tackled at the 1-yard line 11 times this season, and 10 times Jalen Hurts scored the touchdown on a tush push. You add those touchdowns to the point you're getting off the yardage that Barkley's getting, and he's crushing fantasy. So his touchdowns are being vultured, as they say, by Hurts.
Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Wasn't that the problem with Barry Sanders? That he was all these long runs, they weren't getting in, and then they would hand the ball off to somebody else who would come in and score the touchdown.
That did happen to Barry Sanders a lot too. Now, sometimes he was tired and he had to come out. But yeah, if you remember, Barry Sanders had all those great runs, but he also got tackled for loss quite a bit. Mm-hmm. So I think they figured, he just ripped off a 45-yarder and got us to the 4-yard line. We're not going to give it to him again and he gets stuffed or loses yardage, So that's a different situation.
Yeah.
These are actually, he's on the 1-yard line. These aren't red zone runs. He's on the 1, and he's still in the game. But instead of getting handed the ball, he's putting his hands on Hurts' butt and pushing him in.
Tush push. He should get a partial.
Yeah.
6 points. That's
wow.
Pretty good, Betty. Wow.
So, that's all I got there.
All right. Well, let's do the numbers real quick. How was your numbers last week?
Oh, I didn't do mine. Wait. Bengals won, right? So that gave me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 out of how many games we had? 13?
I do believe there was 13. Yeah, let me just double check. I'll look at mine.
13 games, I had 9 right. So whatever that comes out to.
Well, you had the same amount that I had.
Oh, interesting.
That comes out to 69%.
Okay. That's a little closer probably to my average.
Closer to earth for both of us, but closer to what the norm is and
right.
So but 69% is good.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it.
That's real good. So whoever's not taking this seriously, you're just missing out on some good information because, and the interesting thing is now, I guess it's because we're getting to the point now where teams, they're really starting to compare teams now, and using the differential, point differentials and turnover differentials even. I'm seeing, they're pulling up in their little graphics and things. And the only thing you have to remember is they use gross numbers.
Right.
We could go gross from this point on. We use averages to account for all of the bye weeks, so we don't have to try to subtract or make allowances. But that's how you do it. You just average it out. But now there are no more bye weeks. So this is it. Let's count down from here on. 15, 16, 17, 18. But before we go to 15, let's take a look back at the stats as we wrapped up week 14 with the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings. All right, Benny, the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports for NFL weeks 14 for the rankings and 15 for the Bias Plus report. So let's take a look at the top half of the rankings. As you can see, we always like to give love to our first place teams, and they're all in blue and the highlighted orange. Starting out with number one in average net points, A&P, that would be Detroit at 14.1. Again, net points and turnover differential can be positive or negative. So that's a positive 14.1. And Detroit coming in first in scoring for the average points for at 32.1 points per game. Amazing. Now the Chargers are here. They're number one in average points against. That's the scoring defense. You'll see they are in red, and there's a reason, and we'll explain that in a bit. But congratulations for only allowing 15.9 points per game. And we have a tie in the turnover differential, Benny. Buffalo, who have been riding that number one spot, is now sharing it with Pittsburgh, coming in at plus 1.3 average turnover differential per game. So, man, oh man, that's tight right there. As you can see, we do have some teams in red. And basically what those teams are teams who are in the top half on one side of the ball, offensively or defensively, and then they're not in the top half on the other side of the ball. So we wanted to take a look at them. Highlighted in yellow are all the top 8. That's the top 25% of the league. So we'll just run down net points real quick as we go from Detroit down to Buffalo, down to Philly, down to Minnesota, down to Pittsburgh, Washington, Green Bay, and Denver. Man, you gotta watch Denver, Benny. You gotta watch Denver.
I've been watching them.
Top half is rounded out by the Chargers, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the Bucks, Houston, Seattle, Cincinnati, and my Niners, exactly at average net point of 0. So that's kind of the status now. You can see again that there's a lot more of these teams on the offensive side than on the defensive side. On the defensive side, you only got one team, and that's the Chargers. Let's drop down. Do you want to say anything about the top half first before we drop down? Or we'll come back?
No, we're good. Cream's rising to the rising to the top, rather.
Right. That's easy for you to say.
Yeah, right.
As you can see in the bottom half on the offensive side, at number 20, you have your Chargers averaging 21.3 points per game. So that's the Chargers' challenge, is can they get their points up? However, on the other side of the ball, those teams, and it was pretty crowded up there, Benny, when we went up to the top. I mean, in your top 8, half of these teams, their defense is not in the top half of the rankings. Washington is in the highest point of the top half at 17, allowing 22.8 points per game. Tampa Bay and Baltimore are down at 22 and 23, allowing 23.8 and 24.5 points per game. And Cincinnati is holding up the rear of those teams, and they're probably the team with the greatest, what I call ranking differential, difference between where they rank on offense and where they rank on defense. And that would be Cincinnati, allowing 27.7 points per game. So, as I always tell people, come to www.sterlingnppr.com. This is where all of these stats are. Find out where your team is. Take a look at it. You can look at past rankings to see if your team's been moving up or moving down. As you can see, for example, Miami now is 23rd. At one point, they were in 32nd place in scoring. And that's when I started talking about Tua to be in the conversation for MVP. He's not, of course, but I just thought that when you go from number 3 in offense to number 32 in offense because of one guy, there's an obvious value that's lost there when he's not there. So that's probably the closest measurable value, because most of the time when they're talking MVP, it's more, again, opinion and conjecture of what people think and what people like. And I'm going to ask you, Benny, and we can talk about this. You can finish up on the rankings, and then we can go to this. But when you think about MVP, we're talking league MVP, right? Not team MVP.
Correct.
So the question is, how are you valuable to the league?
Well, it is the MVP of the league, but I don't think the people are measured by how valuable they are to the league. You have to be measured by how valuable you are to your team as opposed to the other valuable players or most valuable players on their teams. Are you more valuable to your team than that other guy is to his? And that's why you never see an MVP on a losing team.
Okay. Right. Anything further on the rankings?
No, I'm good.
All right, good enough then. We're going to move on to the bias plus reports. Now, with the bias plus reports, we take those rankings, specifically the net points and the turnover differential, we put them in a super secret formula, and then we come out with the rankings for these matchups. The idea here is the team with the greater net points is generally going to be what we call favored, nothing guaranteed. And then the difference between the two teams in terms of net points and turnover differential, which we convert to points, is what you're going to see in the bias plus report. So let's start out with Thursday night game featuring my beloved 49ers hosting those scary LA Rams. And Benny, the bias plus score, you normally get 3 for a home game. It's only 1, and it favors. But it does favor my Niners. Now, the kick is this. Remember I said to you that the average net points for the Niners is 0.
Right.
The average net points for the Rams was minus 2.6. So the Rams made up for the difference because their average turnover differential was plus 0.2 versus Niners, which was minus 0.2. And when you put them together, the Niners are able to slimly become favored here. But, what can I tell you? The Niners and the Rams in a division game, and the Rams just finished. Who was that? The Bills?
Yep.
Oh, my God. Tell me about it.
Well, I'm going to tell you about it. So you're going to hear a lot of talk about there's really 3 seriously, hotly contested divisions. One of them is your beloved 49ers, along with the Rams, in the NFC, as I like to call it, the NFC Wild, Wild West. So the Rams needed a win to kind of try to separate themselves from the Cardinals and the Niners, and also to keep pace with the Seahawks and keep alive their hopes of winning the NFC West. the division crown is still up for grabs. They had a really tough task hosting the Buffalo Bills, who are the number 2 seed in the AFC right now. Now, not having a dominant defense, the Rams had to lean on their obvious strength, which is Sean McVay's play calling and Matt Stafford's mastery of his offense with his 3 really big stars. So you got a rushing TD by Kyron Williams, a scoop and score of a block punt, a field goal, and a speed sweep by Puka Nacua for his first career rushing touchdown, by the way. That gave the Rams a 24-14 lead that they took into the locker room at halftime. A second Kyron Williams touchdown increased the lead to 31-14. And after Buffalo was able to score their first touchdown in the second half, Stafford found Cooper Kupp to give the Rams another 17-point lead at 38-21. So they kept out in front of Buffalo, hard as Buffalo tried to keep up. Now, Buffalo did make a furious comeback attempt in the fourth quarter. They scored 21 points, but an 11-play, 71-yard drive that ended with a 19-yard pass from Stafford to Puka Nacua again was enough to hold the Bills off. And LA never trailed in this game, by the way, and they ultimately won it 44-42. This was a barn burner, okay? But like I said, the Rams stayed out in front. Hard as the Bills tried to keep up, they couldn't ever quite catch up. So that was a really big game and a really big win for the Rams. So now the Niners, just like the Rams in the same division, are trying to keep hope alive in the tightly contested NFC West also. They had already taken 3 bad losses to the Seahawks, the Packers, and the Bills, and people were starting to throw dirt on Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy. I took that personal. I ain't like that. But guess what? The can't quite get it right Chicago Bears were just what the doctor ordered. Niners stepped on the gas from the start, gained 319 total yards in the first half alone. They ran out to a 24-0 lead. Purdy was sharp. He threw for 325 on 20 of 25 passing. Can't get much better than that. 2 touchdowns. And, the running back situation. Wow. So McCaffrey's out on IR. Jordan Mason's out on IR. So they brought in the third-string guy, Isaac Guerrero. He led the rushing attack with 78 of their total 138 yards on the ground, and he had 2 of their 3 rushing touchdowns. Oh, yeah, and the defense was outstanding. 7 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and 7 tackles for loss. Unfortunately, Guerrero got injured, and he may be out for the season also. I'm not sure about that, so I have to check on that later. But if that's the case, I think the next guy up is Patrick Taylor or something like that. So we'll see what he's got to offer.
You know, it was funny, Benny. I'm playing on Madden, and this new running back pops up out of nowhere. He had a long name, started with an M, Macchiendo or something like that. It sounded actually African, but he's fast as heck.
Oh no, I know who you're talking about.
It
starts with an A.
Okay.
Akinbo Kato or something like that.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, we'll look him up later. Yeah, I don't know. So it's a toss-up as to which one of them is going to be the first guy up. One was on the practice squad, and the guy you're talking about, they just brought him over from the Jets.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Guerrero isn't completely out yet, right?
I don't think so. I think he's just got a.
They're talking about, day-to-day type thing now.
Yeah, probably.
Fast guy, man. He actually on the game, he was the fastest on the team until they brought this new guy in. He may have by a step, but they got some speed. Yeah, it was an interesting game. You mentioned the Niners' first half yardage stats. At the end of that first half, did you mention what the Bears had?
4 total yards, but I'll get to that when I talk about the Bears.
Go, do it.
4 total yards and 1 first down. It was pathetic.
Crazy. All right, Rams at Niners.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm supposed to pick a winner. This is a toughie. Division. Everybody's fighting for that lead. Seahawks do have one game lead on everybody, also, by the way. But I believe, just judging by the resurgence of the 49ers defense, I'm going to go with them. The fact that they're home and the defense has showed some signs of life, I'm going to go with the 49ers.
The bias going with the Niners. That was
Yeah, but this is a very scary game.
Yeah, well, what a way to kick the week off, right? Football weekend off.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be good.
Let's talk about Sunday, 1:00. First game up, Jets at Jaguars. Bias plus score of 6.8 actually favors the Jets. Jets, the only team I had any family that played for.
Let's see what we got for this guy. So the Jets, oh boy, let's talk about the Jets. In what may have been Aaron Rodgers' best game overall this season, the Jets couldn't hold off the Dolphins, and they lost in overtime 32-26. Rodgers was actually 27 of 39 for 339 yards and a touchdown with no turnovers. He played extremely well. But Tua Tagovailoa took it to the Jets defense with 2 scoring drives to take it to overtime and the game-winning drive on the first possession of the overtime. And the Jets lost the game. They are now 3-10 and looking like they're pretty much cooked. As far as the Jaguars are concerned, they're also 3-10. Quarterback Mac Jones has taken over for Trevor Lawrence. He was intercepted twice in the first half, but led 2 Jaguar scoring drives in the second half, and he was able to pull out a 10-6 victory over the Tennessee Titans. Good effort for the Jaguars. Jets have to go down to Jacksonville. I'm picking the Jags and mac and cheese to win this one.
All right. Cowboys at those scary Panthers, man. Took the Eagles to the hilt there. Bias plus score of only 3.5, however, favors the Cowboys.
Cowboys with a bias. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Cowboys, Panthers. Cowboys 5-7. They're going on the road to play Carolina, who's 3-10. Cooper Rush threw 2 touchdown passes, one to CeeDee Lamb, one to Brandon Cooks, and Rico Dowdle rushed for a career high 131 yards. But an interception, a muff of a blocked punt, and the sudden impact of the explosive Bengals offense doomed the Cowboys to a 27-20 defeat. Although they have not been mathematically eliminated from making the playoffs, I think it's safe to say that the Dallas Cowboys are done. Postseason will not be in the cards for those guys. As far as Carolina is concerned, the resurgent Bryce Young and the gritty Panthers defense actually had them in position to knock off Philadelphia. The defense wasn't great, but they did sack Jalen Hurts 4 times and hit him in the pocket 5 times. Actually, that was pretty great, to tell you the truth, from supposedly the greatest offensive line in the league at the moment. Bryce Young did get intercepted once, but he was also sacked only once by that vaunted greatest in the league defensive line and pass rush. He absorbed 8 quarterback hits, but he threw for 1 touchdown and he ran 7 times for 29 yards with his little 5'9", 205-pound body. Oh, dear me. Ooh, that vaunted Eagle defense, I'll tell you, they're really good. After driving to the Philadelphia 32-yard line with 52 seconds left in regulation and down 22-16, Young actually hit rookie wideout Xavier Legette with what looked like the go-ahead touchdown pass. But he had to dive to make the reception, and he lost possession of the ball ever so slightly as it touched the ground, and he gathered it back in, but they said no catch. And that was the possible winning score, but it was all for naught. I'll tell you what, Bryce Young's got this big smile on his face lately, man. Every week he looks like he's getting better and better and better. If Leggett catches that ball and they score that touchdown and upset the Eagles, it would have been monumental and really big for his confidence. I don't know if he got a new girlfriend. I don't know what the heck is going on, but he's a different quarterback. That's for sure. I think the Cowboys go down to Carolina and get shocked. I'm picking the Panthers to win this one.
Okie dokie. All right, picking the Panthers, going against the bias, going with the And I sent that message out last week, and we had it in a small clip where I would say how glad I was to see Bryce Young having some measure of success.
Yes,
because he's a great young guy. So you're looking for them to overcome the Cowboys. It's going to be an interesting game. The Cowboys' hearts were broken in that last game. All right, who's up next here? I got the Commanders at the Saints with a bias plus score of 6.8 favoring, say it with me, Benny, the Commanders.
Saints are going to be hosting this game against the Commanders. They're 5-8. That other really hotly contested division that I was talking about when I mentioned the NFC West is the NFC South. The division lead is being held by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now, but the Saints and the Atlanta Falcons are not out of it. One of them can still possibly win that division. So, like I said, very hotly contested. Let's talk about the Saints. Derek Carr threw a touchdown to tight end Juwan Johnson. We mentioned him last week as being a beneficiary of Taysom Hill being out, and he had a really big game. Running back Kendre Miller ran one in, and with the help of...
Are you telling me I'm giving out good fantasy advice?
Well, no, because you said somebody else. I said Juwan Johnson.
Oh, you said Juwan. I said Kareem. I'm not. I can't. Why do I call him Kareem?
You said Alvin Kamara.
Kamara, yeah.
Nice try, though. I know these things from playing fantasy. That's all. It's kind of the natural progression of things. But anyway, those two scores, and with the help of a blocked Giants field goal with 11 seconds left in the game, proved to be just enough for the Saints to pull out the win. It was 14-11. It wasn't a real good-looking game. I don't even really want to talk about it that much anymore because I'm going to have to talk about the Giants a little bit later. So we'll save that for them. The Commanders are coming off the bye. Last time we saw them, they were shellacking the Titans 42-19. I have to take the Commanders in this one. I do think the Saints, even being at home. By the way, Derek Carr is dinged up. He's got his non-throwing hand didn't look like it's in very good shape, and he has possibly got to go through concussion protocol also. So we'll see how he turns out, if he can even play. But whether he plays or not, I'm going with the Commanders.
Derek Carr looked like he got inhabited by the spirit of Taysom Hill. Going down that sideline trying to leap over people. I'm like, that Taysom? I thought he was out. Oh, it's Derek Carr. And he's down.
And he paid for it.
He sure did. That is not his forte for sure. All right, then. So Commanders at Saints, 6.8 favors the Commanders. And I'm sorry, Benny, you have the
Commanders.
Got Commanders going with the bias. All right. You ready for these Ravens, man? Your beloved New York Football Giants? The bias plus score of 15.8 favors those Ravens.
Okay, so I do get to talk about the Giants here. Let me get that over and done with. Oh, dear me. Are they at home? Because that doesn't really mean much for the Giants. They usually lose at home. It's very sad. Yes, they are at home. They are 2-11. I can't wait for the season to end and we start to get on the way to fixing this thing. But anyway, they lost to the Saints, as I just said. The final score was 14-11. They actually had a chance to tie the game and send it to overtime, which frankly would have prolonged a very poorly played game even longer. But the field goal try was blocked as time expired. It's a miracle they even had the opportunity. They did kick a field goal in the second quarter, and they finally scored a touchdown late in the fourth quarter. Before the fourth quarter touchdown, besides the field goal, they got stopped on downs on their first possession of the half and punted. I'm sorry, they got stopped on downs on the first possession of the game. They punted 8 times. 6 of them were 3 and outs. Oh, this hurts so bad. Y'all don't understand. After the touchdown, Drew Lock threw an interception, and then they somehow got the defense to lock it down and get the ball back, only to have the field goal try and the hopes of taking it to overtime and get the field goal blocked. Now, the Ravens are coming off a bye. Last time we saw them, they were getting outplayed in the second half of their loss to the Eagles. But I believe they will right the ship, and they have a nice get-right game against the Giants. So take the Ravens.
Oh man, and Lamar was acting like he couldn't wait to get back to football and play the Giants.
Well, see, this works out really well for him. If you remember his post-game conference after the Eagles game, he seemed to be very upset. I don't know if he was faking it or what, but he said his mother called him and cursed him out and said that he needs to start running more, like he didn't already know that. I think he knew. I think everybody knows, except for the OC. For some reason, he's trying to turn him into a pocket pass. I don't understand some of these coaches. I really, really don't. Okay? I just don't. Weeks ago, I said, when we had the discussion about Derrick Henry and how many carries he needs to basically ensure that they keep time of possession, put points on the board, and win games, I said they have to give him the ball more, and Lamar has to run more. I didn't say he has to have 15 runs a game. He doesn't need 15 runs a game, but he has to run more than 4 or 5 or 6 times. He just has to. They have diversity in their offense, and they're not using it at all. It's crazy. Makes no sense.
I truly understand what you're saying and I hear a lot of the other pundits say that. And at the same time, when they asked Jalen, when they asked JJ about their game and what needed to be fixed, he said passing. And I don't see where they're trying to make Lamar into a pocket quarterback, but I do think that they still haven't learned how to control the defense with the use of Derrick Henry. And that's what I think the Eagles know how to do that. They're doing a better job of controlling with the defense. The defense has to gear up for Saquon most of the time. There's only certain situations.
Right, but when you make a defense do that, what does it enhance? What's the other part of your offense that enhances?
You're passing.
Exactly.
Right.
But we're not talking about the Eagles. We're talking about the Baltimore Ravens.
Right.
So if they don't use Henry like the Eagles use Saquon, then that's not enhancing their passing game, but they keep trying to push their passing game.
Well, again, I understand what you're saying, and that's where we agree. And just like you were saying, Lamar needs to run more, and I'm saying they need to feed Derrick Henry more. You know, maybe closer to that 25 carry that you were talking about earlier. I was at 20, but that's minimal. You know, you got to be there in order to control the defense, and you know it's working for the Eagles. I think it could work for Lamar now. Again, their defense ain't the Eagles' defense. That's kind of where the biggest difference is. But okay, in this particular case, you're going with the Ravens over your beloved Giants. That's understandable. Let's see what's coming up next. We have And I think this could be a very good game, Benny. I don't know if I wanted to include it on my intriguing games list yet. But Chiefs at Browns with a bias plus score of 14.2 favors the Chiefs. This is, I do believe, a division matchup, right? Are they in the same division?
No.
No, that's right. Browns are north, Chiefs are west or something like that.
West.
Yeah.
Right.
All right, all right. Two AFC teams. Browns still have Myles Garrett in there as a great disruptor, but the bias favors the Chiefs. Okay, what you got?
Okay. We got those 12-1 Chiefs traveling to Cleveland to play the 3-10 Browns. Let's talk about those Chiefs. Those Chiefs that keep on winning by 1 point, 3 points, 6 points. Seems like it's always a one-score game. And somehow they keep pulling them out. So they held the Chargers scoreless in the first half of their game with the Chargers last weekend, and they held off their comeback attempt in the second half just enough to pull out the win, as usual. After going into halftime up 13-0, they held the lead until the Chargers touchdown at the 3:30 mark of the third quarter gave LA the lead 14-13. Both teams traded field goals, but the Chargers left 4:35 on the clock after their field goal put them up 17-16. And we all know what happens when you leave too much time on the clock in the fourth quarter for the Chiefs. Mahomes then marched the Chiefs 47 yards on 14 plays. That's a slow, methodical drive. And they won the game with a 31-yard field goal that doinked off the left upright and still fell through, and they won the game 19-17. Oh, boy. Cleveland Browns. Jameis Winston, after losing the week before, prayed to the Lord and prayed that the Lord would deliver him from pick sixes. Well, he didn't throw any pick sixes against the Steelers, but he did still throw 2 picks. He also threw 2 touchdown passes, one to Jerry Jeudy, one to David Njoku, but he only completed 24 of 41 for 212 yards. That vaunted Browns running game has really taken a hit. I don't know if it's the play calling, the negative game script that's not allowing them to be able to run the ball like they used to, but he's throwing a lot of passes. I mean, he's got a big, strong arm. He's up to it. But if you got to throw the ball 41 times and you're not putting touchdowns on the board, you're going to be in trouble. So he was 24-41 for 212 yards, which isn't really a lot. The touchdown to Njoku came late in the fourth quarter, so there was a lot of time in between scores. But on the next possession, right after that last touchdown in the fourth quarter, Jameis had another chance for a drive and a score, but instead he threw his second interception, and they ended up losing the game 27-14. I tell you what, there's a possibility only because, like I said, the Chiefs' defense isn't looking wonderful, and the Browns do have the ability to move the ball with Jameis's arm. But if they can't get their run game going, which I don't think they'll be able to do against Kansas City, they really don't have a chance. They could prove me wrong, but I doubt it. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
That's understandable, Benny, for sure. I have a question though. I'm looking at Jameis. I believe it was in the press conference afterwards, and he's wearing glasses. And I thought he had LASIK surgery to
He did.
fix his. So why is he wearing glasses?
I don't know. Maybe he likes to wear glasses.
Interesting, because I thought that was going to help fix that turnover problem. Because he basically is a 1-for-1 guy, 1 touchdown, 1 turnover, 1 interception, and that's what he needs to fix, man. If he can just get it, if he get it down to 50%, Jameis will be in the Pro Bowl at the very least. So, all right, bias plus favors the Chiefs. Ben's going with the bias. Let's see what else we got here. Bengals at Titans, Benny. Bengals at Titans. Bias plus score of 12.2 favors those Bengals. Got away with 1. Tell us about it.
4-8 Bengals. Everybody knows if Cincinnati's going to win games, it's all about Joe Burrow and that offense. Now, in the Monday Nighter against Dallas, the defense actually contributed. They had 3 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and they picked off an interception. Good job by the Bengals defense. Offensively, Burrow threw for a whopping 369 yards and 3 touchdowns. He did throw 1 interception, but he tossed the game-winning touchdown to Jamar Chase. Actually, that was a slant. Guy missed the tackle, and Chase took off and just beat everybody to the end zone. But it doesn't matter. They got the job done. And that was after the Cowboys blocked the Bengals punt. But instead of getting away from it and taking the automatic change of possession, one of the Cowboys special teamers tried to scoop the bouncing ball, muffed it, which then automatically makes it a live ball, and the Bengals recovered. So that's how that worked.
You know, the interesting thing about that, Benny, is I'm looking at the ball, and the funny thing about football, what we love about it, is the ball bounces so crazy. And it looked like the guys, wherever he was standing, he looked up and the ball bounced like it was coming right at him. And he just went into the mode, okay, well, if it's going to come, I'm going to catch it. But for some reason, the ball just kind of veered off there, and he touched it, and boom, it was over. But I saw why he crouched like that, because, I mean, he literally would have had to be diving to try to get out of the way the ball was coming at him so quickly. So really tough situation. But, you know, it's the Cowboys.
The ball was coming right at him, and he made up his mind he was going to catch it, but it was a knuckleball, and it bounced off of him. That's how I saw it.
Well, but that's what I'm saying. It was coming at him for sure. You know, it's coming at him for sure.
And in that situation, if you watch the Manning cast on Monday night, they would tell you, in a situation like that, everybody starts screaming, Peter, Peter, Peter. That means leave it alone, get away from it.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. And he, you know, but again, when he looked up and the ball was coming at him, he literally would have had to like dive or something. You know,
I don't agree. I don't agree. When the ball got blocked, you run the other way. Just run off the field. It's automatically your ball.
Well, okay, that's another you know.
That's what you learned in your special teams meeting. He forgot. He forgot.
Scoop and score, Benny. Guys,
yeah, okay.
Scoop and score, they get patted on the back.
Okay. And if you don't scoop and score, especially in a situation like this, where you didn't even have to try to be a hero, you get a foot in the butt.
Well, let's see if he's still on the team next week, and we'll find out.
Yeah, we'll find out. Oh, so now they got to play the Titans, right?
Yeah.
Tennessee and Jacksonville are both at the bottom of the AFC South. Not much going on over there. With nothing much to play for except putting something on tape for next year, these players are really scuffling, but, you know, wins are always nice. Unfortunately, the Titans did, in fact, have chances to win this game, but they came up short, losing 10-6. Let me see. Oh, the chances they had. One of the chances was a 4th down incompletion with a little more than a minute left to play. And the second one was also a 4th down incompletion with 34 seconds left to play. Obviously, both of those ended up being turnovers on downs. So they went for it twice, didn't get it, turned the ball over on downs, and lost 10-6. And I think Will Levis got hurt again. I don't think it was serious. I believe he went out and came back in, but still, he's getting really banged up, man. Will Levis is having a really tough time. Not much going on with either one of these defenses, but Joe Burrow and the Bengals offense can put up way too many points for the Titans to be able to handle. So I'm going to go with the Bengals.
Going with the bias, going with the Bengals over the Titans. Okie dokie. Next up, we have Dolphins at Texans.
This is an intriguing game candidate. It should be.
Oh, yeah. It's an intriguing game candidate for sure. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. The bias plus score 7.7 favors those Texans. The Dolphins need that type of a win so that they can corral this conversation for Tua that I keep talking about.
You, you know what? You're funny, man. They need this one so they can get in the playoffs. You
They
kidding
do
me?
need that too.
They're 6-7, and their playoff hopes are dangling by a thread. But they did keep hope alive when they eliminated the Jets with a 32-26 home win. Did I talk about the Jets yet?
Nah.
They have been mathematically eliminated, by the way, if I did or didn't talk about that. Anyway, Tua was a solid 33 of 47, 302 touchdowns with no turnovers. So your boy looked good. They came from behind twice in the fourth quarter. Like I said, oh yeah, I did talk about the Jets because I remember now. I said this was probably Aaron Rodgers' best game. So they were battling. But Miami was able to come from behind twice in the fourth quarter, and they sent the game into overtime after a 45-yard kickoff return by Malik Washington, and then a Jason Sanders 52-yard field goal as time expired. That took it into overtime. The Dolphins won the coin toss. They took the ball directly downfield, 70 yards in 8 plays, and Tua threw the winning touchdown pass to tight end Jonnu Smith. Now, the Texans are coming off the bye. Last time we saw them, they were pulling out a close one on the road against Jacksonville. They didn't look good in that game, but they had the bye week off. I expect them to come back guns blazing with a much better defense than the Dolphins have seen lately. I'm going to take the Texans to win this one at home.
Going with the bias, going with the Texans over the Dolphins, and that would mean that the Dolphins would be eliminated, correct?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I don't know. There's too many variables. I'm not calling for eliminations unless you got like 2 or 3 wins. Okay. They have 6 wins. They're still alive.
Still alive. Well, we're coming up on a 4 o'clock slate of games, Benny. First one we have on the list here. Ding, 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 for my intriguing game. Steelers at Eagles, bias plus score of 2.2. Favors the Steelers.
Oh boy, your intriguing team looks like it's going into an intriguing game.
Oh,
the 10-3 Steelers have to come to Lincoln Financial and play the 11-2 Eagles. Boy, that crowd's going to be whipped to a frenzy down there for this one because there's a lot of Pittsburgh fans in Philly, not to mention Pittsburgh fans travel very well. So I expect to see a bunch of terrible towels waving, and I expect to see a bunch of fights in the stands. Those 2 things I'm banking on. Now, Russell Wilson put up some very, very impressive numbers in the Steelers' win over the Bengals back in Week 13. I didn't expect to see that again this past weekend against the Browns because, frankly, it just wasn't necessary. Russ threw the ball 26 times. He completed 15. He had 2 for touchdowns. But the running game and the defense were both very, very solid. 35 rushes total for 120 total yards. Najee Harris scored a touchdown. The defense picked off 2 interceptions, recovered 1 fumble, had 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, 7 tackles for loss. Woo! That's a complete game right there on all facets. 27-14 victory. Now, once again, the Eagles weren't able to score in the first quarter of that game. And this time, at home against Carolina, they couldn't score the entire third quarter either. Scoreless in the first quarter, which has become a habit. Scoreless in the third quarter, which is when you do your best improvising or getting yourself together what's the word I'm looking for? I'm sorry. I'm drawing a blank here. Anyway, they go into halftime. They come out of halftime. They go the entire third quarter. They can't score. Now, they did score twice in the second quarter, however. Once on Hurts tush push, and once on a 4-yard pass to Devontae Smith, which I believe was his only pass that he caught. They missed a field goal on the opening possession in the second half, and then the Panthers slow walked them to a touchdown on a drive that consumed close to 8 minutes. When they finally got the ball back, they scored on a touchdown pass from Hurst to tight end Calcaterra. I forgot his first name. That made the score 22-16, and then they held on from there. It was another big day for Saquon. He had 124 yards on 20 carries, and he broke Shady McCoy's career franchise rushing record. But his fantasy owners, as I mentioned earlier, still continue to suffer his lack of touchdowns because of Jalen Hurts stealing them. Well. This is going to be a big test for both quarterbacks. It's going to be a big test for both defenses. But I believe after seeing what the Steelers did against the Bengals, that they can handle just about anything that the Eagles bring at them. I'm serious. I believe the Steelers are going to win this game on the road and beat the Eagles. This is like my third upset I'm picking.
Going against the bias. Now, Benny, this is the interesting thing.
Okay, so that wouldn't be an upset then. I'm sorry.
Well, listen, if you're going against the bias, it's an upset. Well, you're going with the Steelers, right?
I'm going with the Steelers, yeah.
You're going with the bias. The Eagles actually had the net points, but the Steelers had the turnover differential, and it made all the difference, and it really is what made the difference in terms of them being favored. So that's how close this game is, in terms of the numbers. So I was like, and to see that the Steelers are in it with Danger Rush right now, my intriguing team, I can't believe it. It is absolutely amazing. But I'm looking for this game. I'm surprised they didn't flex this thing to one of the evening games or something, man, because this could be the contest. But there is another contest. So let's go on. You're going with the bias, going with the Steelers. Colts at Broncos. Bias plus score of 9.5 favors the Broncos over the Colts. Watch out for them guys.
So both teams are coming off the bye. This is interesting. Last time we saw the Colts, they were eking out a 1-point win over the New England Patriots. And the last time we saw the Broncos, they were putting up 41 on the Browns. Easy peasy, baby. Take the Broncos at home.
All right, easy peasy over the Colts. Is Anthony Richardson still healthy?
Yep.
All right, well, that's good. That's good. All right, next up in that 4 o'clock time frame. This could be a good one, Benny. This was a potential intriguing game for me. Buccaneers at Chargers. Bias plus score 5.2 favors the Chargers. Now, the interesting thing again is that the Chargers are that team that doesn't have the great, they got the good defense, but not the great offense. So, what do we got here?
Okay. Yeah, well, sometimes you make hard decisions to try to determine a culture before you're able to actually get all the players that you need to really make it work. I realize that their new head coach, Mr. Harbaugh, has come in and declared that they're going to be a run-first team. And he thought he was pretty safe because he's got a quarterback that has all the physical talent in the world, but he doesn't have great receivers to throw the ball to. They're okay, but one of the main ones is a rookie, and he's dinged up. So now their offense is kind of running on like a flat tire there, sort of, kind of. But anyway, Let's talk about these Bucks first, because that's that hotly contested NFC South again. Right now, the Bucks are in first place in that division, and they took care of business at home last week against the Raiders. And it's really tough to win a game when you turn the ball over 3 times, like Baker Mayfield did in this one. But when you're playing the Raiders, I guess it doesn't matter. He threw 2 interceptions and he lost a fumble, but only the fumble got converted to points by the Raiders. So they got away clean with the interceptions. He also threw 3 touchdown passes, so that helped a lot. 1 in the first half, 2 in the second half, and that contributed to a nice 28-13 win over the Raiders. The Chargers fell behind 13-0, but they came back with a 79-yard drive on their first possession of the second half, scoring on a Gus Edwards 3-yard run. And then they had a 74-yard drive in 4 plays that ended with a Justin Herbert to Quentin Johnston, get his name right, Quentin Johnston touchdown pass. That gave them the lead 17-16, but then the Chiefs kicked that winning field goal. So that was a close game that the Chargers had every chance to win, but unfortunately, and the game situations seemed to always go the Chiefs' way. The Chargers are at home in this game, though, so let's remember that. But I'm going to go with the Buccaneers. I think the Chargers are wounded. If Ladd McConkey comes back, that's going to help them offensively, but they're still wounded because J.K. Dobbins is down, and Gus Edwards just isn't quite as dynamic a running back as Dobbins is. And their defense, although they've been ranked high for most of the season, it's because they're able to hold teams down to low scores. Doesn't necessarily always translate to wins, though. This may be a low-scoring game also, but I believe the Buccaneers are inspired by their chance to win the division again and get themselves a nice seed for the playoffs. So I think the Bucs are going to pull this one out.
All right. Going against the bias, going with the Buccaneers over the Chargers. All righty. What we got next here, Benny? Now, you would probably think if there was a game that was going to be the intriguing game of the week, it would be this one. However, I'm doing the same thing I did last week. I'm going to avoid the big game. And I think this is a big game. Bills at Lions. Bias plus score 1.4 favors the Lions. Who you got, Benny?
Yeah, I'd say this is a big game. Last week's game for the Bills was a big game too, and it didn't work out too well. But let's talk about the Lions first. They're cruising along at 12-1. They're not only a very good team, the best in the NFL according to a lot of people, but they're also a very well-coached team. The head coach shows unflinching confidence in his players, and the coordinators know how to get the best out of everybody, starters and backups alike. The defense had, get this now, going into their game last week against Green Bay, the defense had 15 players unable to suit up because of injury. That's starters, backups, whatever. 15 different players. That's crazy. Of course, they struggled a little bit defensively, especially against the run, and they struggled in the secondary. But somehow, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn has kept them from completely crumbling. Their pass rush is suffering a little bit too, but they did make a couple moves to bring some new pass rushers in. They gave up 3 second-half touchdowns to the Packers, but only a field goal after the opening minute of the fourth quarter. So Green Bay made a little run at them there in the third quarter, but in the fourth quarter, they were able to take care of business. Not to mention that sometimes the best defense is an outstanding offense, an offense that is almost unstoppable when they convert on third down the way they do, and when they eat up clock as often and as much as they do. In the end, they beat their division rival Packers 34-31. Now, back in week 13, The Bills used a well-balanced offensive attack in their 35-10 demolition of the 49ers. Unfortunately for them, they ran up against an offense in the Rams that was diverse in its attack and had superior playmakers, just the offense, not the defense, but they have superior playmakers, and they also have an outstanding play caller in head coach Sean McVay. The Bills' offense lost the time of possession battle badly and was basically all Josh Allen all the time. 342 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 82 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns, 6 touchdowns total. Looks great on his MVP resume, but it wasn't enough to get him the victory. I think they're going to fall victim again to the Lions. I'm going to take the Lions at home.
Lions are a machine, Benny, and they're not a machine. Unlike the Bills, they don't run on 1 or 2 cylinders. They run on a lot of different cylinders, man.
Right.
So I understand. But that is one small, teeny, weeny, beeny bias of 1.4. So this, can't wait. I'm looking forward to this. Can't wait. All right. You're going with the bias, going with the Lions. All righty. Patriots at Cardinals. Bias goes for 7.4, favors those Cardinals. Benny, what is going on with Kyler? Kyler's the same guy that Jameis is praying to.
Things are really rough in the NFC Wild Wild West, man. It's crazy. The Cardinals were actually leading the division not too long ago, maybe a week or two ago.
Yeah.
They've now dropped their 3rd game in a row after losing to division rival Seattle 30-18. Kyler Murray threw for 259 and 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 picks. And although he got decent production out of his running game, the defense was damn near useless. Now, the Patriots are coming off the bye. Last time we saw them, they were losing a 1-point heartbreaker to the Colts. They're going to be in for another heartbreaker because the Cardinals got to keep up with the Niners and the Seahawks and everybody else in that NFC West. So East Coast team to the West Coast doesn't really mean that much as far as the trip is concerned, but I don't think Drake May is going to be able to stir up enough offense to keep up with Kyler. So I'm going to take the Cardinals.
All right, going with the bias, going with the Cardinals. All right, makes sense to me. We are now approaching Sunday night football. And we have the Packers at Seahawks. Again, a potential intriguing game here, Benny. Bias plus score of 8.3, however, favors the Packers. Maybe the Packers can help us out in the division by putting an L in those Seahawks. Right? Us beloved 49ers.
Keep your fingers crossed. The Packers only scored once in the first half and went into halftime down 17-7 to the Lions. They got it going in the second half, though, and the lead changed hands 4 times. That's crazy. Josh Jacobs scored 3 touchdowns on the ground. The one scored in the first half, and he had 2 more in the second half. And after his second one, Jordan Love connected with tight end Tucker Kraft. So that was a furious comeback attempt against the Lions. Unfortunately, after that last Jacobs touchdown, they were only able to put up a field goal while the Lions scored twice, winning the game 34-31. Now, in case you haven't been paying attention, the Seattle Seahawks are damn good. This ain't no lucky run they're on. These boys are balling right now. They ran all over the Cardinals in a dominant 30-18 win. The win was their 4th in a row, and they now have a 1-game lead in the NFC West. Geno Smith was a pretty accurate 24 of 30 for 233 yards, 1 touchdown. Running back Zach Charbonnet, who seems to have taken over for my man Kenny Walker. I don't know what's going on with him. If I'm not mistaken, he's been starting, and then they've been taking him out and going with Charbonnet. I have to look into that. But anyway, he had a day. carried the ball 22 times, 134 yards, 2 touchdowns, and he caught 7 balls for an additional 59 yards. So that was a big game for Charbonnet. Wow. I hate to say this to you, brother, but I'm going against the bias again. I think the Seahawks are hot. I think they're red hot. I think their defense is playing really well, and I'm pretty sure they're all healthy. And Jordan Love hasn't been looking as sharp as a lot of people expected him to look. If anything, he should have been able to take advantage of all the injuries the Lions had on defense. They made a good attempt. They made a run. They came close, but they couldn't close them out. Another score might have done it, but they couldn't quite do it. And they let an injury-ravaged defense slow them down just enough for the Lions offense to take over. The Seahawks are playing really well. Packers are still showing some slight weaknesses. I'm going to go with the Seahawks.
Hey, Benny, going against the bias, going with the Seahawks. All I can say, Benny, is go, Pack, go. That's all I can say. Yeah, baby. All right, that's Sunday night. We got a doubleheader on Monday night, Benny.
Oh, really?
A doubleheader. Yes,
Okay.
we do. One game. The first game I have here is Bears at Vikings. Bias plus score of 8.6 favors the Vikings. Oh, man. Caleb's playing better, man. Caleb's going to be okay. Next year, Caleb's going to be well improved. We think Bryce took some steps ahead. I think Caleb's going to take some steps ahead. What do you think?
I mean, I don't want to bury the guy, but things are kind of
unraveling. Already did that, so you don't have to.
Yeah, things are kind of unraveling in Chicago right now. But anyway, they played your 49ers. They got punched in the mouth, 38-13. This was really bad. They fell behind 24-0 in the first half. They punted 5 times. They only made 1 first down. They only cobbled together 4 stinking yards of total offense. 5 punts, 1 first down. Of those 5 punts, 4 of them were 3 and outs. You can't play much worse than that. Now, somehow they scratched out 2 touchdowns in the second half, but Caleb got manhandled by the 49er defense, that resurgent 49er defense. And the Bears' run game got manhandled too. So they totaled up 7 sacks, 7 quarterback hits, and 7 tackles for loss. 7-7-7 for the 49ers defense, spelled doom for the Bears. As far as the Vikings are concerned, Sam Darnold achieved 2 career highs in the Vikings win over the Falcons. He threw for 347 yards, a career high. He threw for a career high 5 touchdowns. 3 of those touchdowns went to Jordan Addison, which was a career high for him. And the other 2 went to Justin Jefferson. But Darnold saved his best work for the second half. Of those 347 yards through the air, 250 of them came in the second half. When the score was tied at 21, at the very beginning of the fourth quarter, Darnold put together 3 touchdown drives. Of his 5, 3 of them came in the fourth quarter, while the defense kept the Falcons off the board and turned them over twice on the way to a convincing 42-21 win. Strong showing by the Vikings. I expect them to do it again against the Bears and not have too much trouble doing it. Take the Vikings.
Taking the Vikings over the Bears. And, I'll be quite honest with you. I don't get super excited because we beat the Bears. You know what I mean? Because you beat the Bears, that's one level of team, and you got to turn around and play another level of team. So I'm not carrying a whole bunch over to the new.
Yeah, I'm not going to. I am, but for a different reason. I'm not saying they should be happy because they beat the Bears. It's the way that they did it. You know what I'm saying? If you remember, and I think I asked you this question one time before. Remember when we used to play for the Jaguars?
Yeah.
And remember George Robinson, the head coach?
Yeah.
Remember when we had a game against a team that we pretty much knew we could beat? he used to tell us, kill a gnat with a sledgehammer.
Okay.
That's what I got at a 49er win.
All right, killing that with a sledgehammer. Thanks for taking me back to our old to our days.
I remember that.
All right, second game. Okay, first of all, if I go back, you are going with the Vikings, going with the bias.
Yes, yes.
Second game on Monday night, Benny. Falcons at Raiders. Now, this could have been the game that they would have flexed out of Monday night.
Yeah, really.
Eagles. Put the Steelers Eagles in this thing right here, man, and really make it a night. But you got the Falcons at the Raiders. Bias plus score 7.8 favors the Falcons.
Well, you know what? This might not be so bad because usually when they have the doubleheader on Monday night, one game starts like an hour after the other one started. So the Raiders are at home, so I'm going to assume that this is going to be the later game. So you don't really have to watch it.
That's one way to
You know what I mean? You just go ahead and watch the Vikings Bears and call it a night.
That's one way to look at it.
Check the score in the morning. Oh boy. So it was a homecoming of sorts for Kirk Cousins when the Falcons went to Minneapolis. Cousins threw for 344 yards, but never found the end zone. He did, however, throw 2 interceptions. Things aren't looking good for old Kirk there. Things are looking like old man River or old Father Time is kind of tapping him on the shoulder. But anyway, the 2 touchdowns that they did score were both on the ground, one by Bijan Robinson and one by Tyler Algier. The 3 turnovers didn't help at all. Now, the Raiders have lost 9 straight games. It's all bad news for the Raiders. Well, it's not all bad news. I'll tell you what the good news is later. But it looks like it's all bad news for the Raiders as the Raiders are right now. They lost 9 straight games. That's got to be getting close to some kind of a record. In their game against the Buccaneers, they also lost their quarterback, Aiden O'Connell. He's got a knee injury. He's probably done for the season. Before he got carted off the field, he was replaced by Desmond Ridder. But before he got hurt, he did run for a touchdown. He wasn't able to throw one, but he was able to throw an interception, and he lost a fumble. Desmond Ridder came in and looked just like Desmond Ridder. So that's the end of that. Now, here's the good news. I forget what the occasion was, and I forget exactly where everybody was. But Deion Sanders, after making it clear that he would try his best to make sure that his son Shador and his other adopted son,
Travis
Hunter, end up on the proper team. And he said something to Antonio Pierce out loud in front of people to be sure that Pierce, who obviously doesn't have all the control over who they draft, but he wants to put the word out there that he'd be okay with them going to the Raiders. He has a lot of respect for Antonio Pierce. I don't know what the Raiders' plans are or how they're going to try to restructure their team to get back to their winning ways, but I don't think Deion would have a problem with his 2 guys going to Las Vegas. That's all I got to say about that. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, because it looks like they're probably going to have the first pick in the draft.
Well, if they screw up, it's possible then that the Giants could be looking at Shador, right?
Yeah, but in order for them to screw up, they would have to win. We mean screw up like not take them?
Yeah, like, because
Oh yeah, sure. There's no guarantee. They may not take him.
yeah,
They might take Cam Ward. I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
right. Could not take them.
Oh, by the way, I'm picking the Raiders, the Falcons to win that game.
Are you really?
Yes. Dude, do you remember the last time you saw Desmond Ridder?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, he was with the Falcons.
Right.
That guy stinks. I thought he was out of football.
Are they gonna play Cousins, the Falcons?
Oh, I don't see why not.
Okay, all right. I'm just hearing so many more, people talk about, sitting them down. So
Here's the deal. As long as they have an opportunity to make the playoffs and or win that division, they're not going to take him out.
okay, okay, all right. That's understandable. That's understandable. All right, going with the bias, going with the Falcons. That wraps up the second game of Monday night, which would wrap up the Bias Plus reports for NFL Week 15 of the 2024-2025 season, which leaves one piece of business, Benny. Just one, but it's a big one. It's really gigantic. The type of
Gigantic.
It's gigantic, Benny. It's gigantic. Because we're talking about the Bias Plus Buster of the Week for last week, week 14, and that Bias Plus Buster team had a score of 30.6. My San Francisco 49ers, baby.
Well deserved.
We were not favored in that game, believe it or not.
Well deserved.
I'm telling you so. Congratulations to my beloved 49ers. There you go. There you go. All right, Benny. That's it for me. You got anything more?
No, I'm good to go. Let me see. Did I have anything else?
Congratulations to Bill Belichick. Looks like he's going to be the next coach at North Carolina.
Yeah, it's looking like he's going to make that move. Now, there's no way in heck I would believe that he's going to be satisfied with putting in a bunch of time in the college ranks. He wants back into the NFL. But I believe that he believes that if he goes and has success at UNC right away, that will kind of speed things up. Evidently, he hasn't heard, or his agent hasn't heard, the kind of rumblings around the NFL that he was hoping to hear. And he wants to get back into coaching as soon as possible. So I believe he's going to take this job, try to prove something, and if nothing else, get his chops going again, and then he'll make another run at the NFL.
Well, you said something interesting, and that's, about Belichick having to deal with the portals and all of that stuff. Well, he's not going to have to worry about that. He's already got himself a college GM and Michael Lombardi, who's going to come and play GM at the University of North Carolina for one Mr.
Lombardi's going to go work for him?
Yes, he's going to be a GM. You're going to have a GM in college now.
That's a coup. That's a coup.
So he's planning. He got the master plan going on here.
Yeah, that's a coup. Michael Lombardi's a sharp dude, man. And I believe he's had his ear to the ground as far as college players are concerned, simply because he's in broadcasting now. He's a journalist, so he has to be on top of that kind of stuff. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting.
It's going to be interesting. All right, Benny, that's it for me. Ben and Barry on football at www.benandbarryonfootball.com. Signing out.
Later, y'all.
Peace.